Joining me now, Randy Bryce, otherwise known as Iron Stash, taking on Paul Ryan, is going to defeat the next or the current Speaker of the House and will be the next representative from Wisconsin's 1st District. Randy, welcome to Rebel Headquarters.
Thank you. It's an honor to be with you.
Good to have you here, brother.
Great to be here.
So Randy, I know you did this amazing campaign against Paul Ryan. I'm going to get to that in a second. But first, I want to start with why you have found a way and how you have found a way to unite the Democratic Party. Because for some reason, even though you are deeply progressive, the Democratic Party doesn't mind you. So you are the great uniter. How did you do it?
Well, it's just by, our campaign staff, they're telling me just be you, just be who you are, be authentic. That comes across to people. And that's all I'm doing. I'm just doing something people understand that, they see a part of them and the story that I've lived. And it's about taking care of people. And I think that's what politics should be. It should be about lifting everybody up, not having people to step on in order to elevate ourselves.
Wow. Imagine if we had 435 people in Congress that thought that way, or in the House. So, Randy, you're a former iron worker. You used to deliver appliances. You're a veteran. So what in God's green earth made you think that you should run for Congress?
Well, people in the district have been asking, and for the last decade, I've taken anybody that wants to put in a fight against Paul Ryan, introducing them to labor friends and at least getting them a head start on what it's gonna take to run. And finally seeing what happened in DC, where the Republicans took over all the branches of our government, and knowing what happened in Wisconsin after that happened, that put a lot of urgency into the mission. So it was actually at an immigrants' rights march on May Day when I was surrounded by tens of thousands of people, and I know they're terrified with Donald Trump being in the White House, but yet looking at the determination on their faces, and that even though they're scared to death of having their families literally torn apart, that they're all marching in a public street. And so when a state senator asked me then if he could pass my name along, there was no chance at saying no.
All right, so now you might wonder why I said he's deeply progressive. Well, he's for Medicare for all, he's for $15 minimum wage, he's for getting money out of politics, he's a Justice Democrat, so that means he's uncorrupted, won't take any corporate PAC money. So if a guy like that beats the Speaker of the House that just passed his tax cuts for the rich, man, that is an earthquake, an absolute earthquake. And Randy's well on his way to doing that. There are a lot of different metrics, but one of them, Randy, is money. And you recently did something that brought you a lot of money, but all small donations. So what was that?
Well, first of all, let me thank Paul Ryan for putting out a tweet that talked about, a secretary thanking him for $1.50 a raise a week. That's like $6 a month. So he put that out, and right away, and that's just another typical Paul Ryan story, just being out of touch with what's going on in the 1st District. Whether it's that, or it was not knowing what the minimum wage was in the state of Wisconsin. He's been out of touch. So we've been able to raise, it was right around $200,000 as a result of that within a 48-hour period. So as long as Paul Ryan's going to continue to be Paul Ryan, he's going to be one of the biggest helpers that we have.
You know what, I'm gonna give the links right now. Of course, as always, everybody who watches these interviews knows the links are always down below in the description box on YouTube, so you can just click on them. And if you're watching on Facebook, they're in the comment section. Randy Bryce for Congress, but there's a donation and volunteer link. Give Randy $1.50. Give him $15, give him $150. But make sure that your small dollar donations count, and if you're in the Wisconsin's 1st District, putting in your time is even more important. That our army of volunteers are going to beat these corporate hacks. So let's talk about your district a little bit, Randy. So Paul Ryan's been representing for quite some time. He basically works for the Koch brothers. They gave him $500,000 right after he got that tax cuts for the rich passed. So why does he win in that district? It seems like Wisconsin's like real average folks, average Americans fighting, tooth and nail to make a living, et cetera. What do you think's going on over there?
Well, he's never had to face what he's facing right now. And Congressman Mark Buchanan has even stated that this is the first time he's had to run for his life. We're just building up. The amount of momentum has been beyond incredible. Lots of members of Congress are getting on board. This is the first time Congresswoman Gwen Moore has ever endorsed anybody running against Paul Ryan. And I mean, we brought in Senator Sanders, is going to help out. But people, especially with the tax scam and just seeing where Paul Ryan's priorities are, and they're not with us. For the past 20 years that he's been in DC, he's been hanging out with lobbyists, special interests, and billionaires. And that's who he's making his votes based upon. It's not for people like me. It's not for my neighbors or anybody that's ever been on a job site with me. People have had enough, basically, and they're seeing that Donald Trump, when he came and started talking about draining the swamp, there's a lot of buyer's remorse for that. And we're waking up and finding out that what Donald Trump replaced the swamp water with is a lot more toxic than what was in the swamp. And they're looking at Paul Ryan as being the largest swamp monster.
Yeah. So you're running on a single payer. Now, conventional wisdom in the Democratic Party is if you're going up against a Republican like Paul Ryan, you just want to be a little less Republican than him. You're not buying into that. You're going in the opposite direction. First of all, why are you for a single payer? And then second of all, why do you think that's going to work?
Well, it's the right thing to do, especially after having so much of our money redistributed up towards the wealthiest. You can't tell me that we can't afford to take care of ourselves. And the way of looking at it, it's like a big picture issue that I see it. Recently, an entire GE factory closed up shop and moved to Canada. Paul Ryan blamed it on the taxes. And I say the way we have to look at it is that Medicare for All is going to be a means to help small businesses start a job. They're not going to have to worry about covering somebody. And also, it's going to change the culture. I won't take off unless I have something seriously wrong with me physically that is not allowing me to get up or move around normally. And usually I'll put it off as long as I can, thinking that it's going to go away. Well, just think how much money we're going to save if we go and get something like that checked out. If we have annual checkups, preventative care, and also if we can get rid of all these extra tests where people are making money off of, however many tests they can send us to. And I know it's a crazy system that we have right now. The iron workers are self-insured. So, we actually pay an administrator to turn down our own members for healthcare coverage. And that's not taking care of our members, if you ask me.
See, that's common sense, man. And I think if you talk to people, they get that kind of common sense. And it saves us money in the long run, no question about it. Now, you had a health scare of your own. What was that about, Randy?
Shortly after I got out of the Army, I was diagnosed with cancer. And at the time, I was working 2 full-time jobs, and neither one of them provided any kind of health care. And luckily, it was like my late 20s. I went to go see a doctor. It was one of the better doctors in the area. But when it was found out that I didn't have insurance, I was sent to the Medical College of Wisconsin. So it was like a student, it was like a guinea pig. And the doctor that I had was just phenomenal. We'll never forget him. But if not for that, who knows if I'd even be talking to you today.
Yeah, and it's crazy that we live in a country that's supposed to be number one, that's supposed to be the top economy in the world. We have all this money, but for millions of Americans, if you get sick, we say, no, you're on your own, and sad day for you.
GoFundMe is the new healthcare.
I mean, we're doing GoFundMe to save people's lives. It's insanity. So. Yeah, now Randy, you recently went to the State of the Union, which was a little bit controversial. Some Republicans were mad about that because they found it disrespectful that someone else would invite you when you're running against one of the members. I find that hilarious. Right. From the guys who yelled, "You lied to Obama."
Exactly. I was just going to say, it wasn't a Democrat that yelled, "You lied," the president.
So who invited you and what'd you do over there?
Congressman Mark Buchanan invited me. He's just been an amazing man and just a fantastic representative. Not only was I called out for attending the State of the Union, and Mark Buchanan invited me as a working person, a representative of the state of Wisconsin, but he was also called out for being disrespectful by having town halls in Paul Ryan's district. He had 4 of them throughout the area, but the fact is that Paul Ryan has refused to have a public town hall for over 2 years. So they should be thanking him for doing Paul Ryan's job for him. And that's just another reason why he needs to be removed.
And by the way, there's rumors that he might retire. If he does, then you're by a long shot the front runner. So there's a lot of different ways to win that race. But I'd rather have him stay in the race and have you knock his ass out.
Absolutely.
That would be a pleasure to watch. So look, Randy's also in favor of comprehensive immigration reform, women's health care and reproductive rights, reversing climate change, et cetera. But we're almost out of time. So I'm gonna, since I know those positions of yours, that's why I said you're deeply progressive. And again, if you wanna help them, go to the links down below and make sure you click on those. I wanted to ask a fun question at the end here. So you're known as Iron Stash. I love nicknames. That's an awesome nickname. I'm not going to ask you where it came from. You're an iron worker and you have a mustache. Obviously, it's Iron Stash. But who came up with it and when? Was that recently, or did they always call you Iron Stash?
No, it was something I came up with. I went to the National Building Trades Legislative Conference, and I've been involved with like social media. So I got in touch with their guy there, and we did a few things, and we're talking how to best rally the troops behind social media. And he was like, I wasn't on Twitter at the time, and he said, you really should try it out. So I did, and just kind of experimented with, I was like, how does this name sound? And he was like, that's awesome, you should just go with it. So when we decided to run our campaign, we thought about having, like a Randy for Wisconsin, or making up a different Twitter handle. And we said, no, just let's keep it genuine, just gonna be who I am and not change anything like that. And it's part of our message, and it's really seemed to be working.
Randy, nothing would make me happier than if on election night I got to say, here comes Iron Stash. Oh no, down goes Ryan. Down goes Ryan. So let's hope that.
I'm looking forward to hearing that.
Yeah, you, your volunteers, your donors, all small donors can make that happen. Randy, Bryce, thanks for joining us at Rebel Headquarters.
Thank you for the invitation.